Nick Sirianni would have done very well under such a poll in Philadelphia last year. This year, it's very different. He'll be meeting with reporters today. When he does, he'll be asked about his offensive coordinator vacancy because Brian Johnson reportedly will not return. The termination hasn't been announced of the first-year offensive coordinator. He had been quarterback's coach in 2022, the year that the Eagles made it to the Super Bowl and Jalen Hurts was an MVP candidate. We don't really see a surprise here. We expected both coordinators to be gone. I had heard some rumblings that some of the play calling duties had been taken from Brian Johnson, but the Eagles thought it would be a very bad look in the same year to have both of your coordinators that you hired to take over for two coordinators who got head coaching jobs lose authority during the season. So they kept that under wraps better than they kept Sean Desai losing play calling authority under wraps. But, we saw it coming. It's happened. And now they have to find a new offensive coordinator and a new defensive coordinator. And there's pressure on everybody now because if Nick Sirianni fails again with one or both coordinators, he will be out.
Yeah, right. This shouldn't surprise anybody. I mean, Nick Sirianni, I feel like he has to make this move. He has to make this move not only to get his locker room, the belief back in the game plan, schematics, all of that. He's got to make that move to save his own butt, probably in the eyes of the owner and all that, and kind of change the mojo and the trajectory of the offense there. I mean, come on. That's where, hey, when you look at like that graphic we're talking about, right, and if you could throw that back up there, Pete and Kristen, that would be great as far as the last 2 years of their offense. Hey, last year, we know, it was incredible. This year, when you look at it from this standpoint right here of, 22 to 2023, it's not that big of a difference, but it is that big of a difference because what's worse is really when you break it down, they're kind of like had house money with what they did the first 8 to 10 weeks of the year as far as yards and, points scored and total yards per play and the rushing. The problem is it got progressively worse as the year went on. And when we got into the last 5 to 6 weeks, and if you just broke that down, the statistics are dramatically worse, right? Where it's not one of the top 5, 6, 7 offenses in football. It's one of the worst in football, almost in all categories across the board. So I think between that, the fact that there was no light at the end of the tunnel, it continued to seem to get worse. The quarterback they just signed to a $40 million a year contract got worse this year and everything around it. I was not surprised to see that Nick Sirianni and the Eagles moved on from Brian Johnson.
And here's what's interesting about that, because Brian Johnson and Jalen Hurts have been friends for a very, very long time. Let's revisit last week when Jalen Hurts on locker cleanout day was asked the question of whether he wants Nick Sirianni back as the head coach. Here's what Hurts had to say.
I said owners own, coaches coach, and players play. I answered that question the other day, and I don't know if you asked me something the other day about, and I said, what did I say?
It's like you didn't know. You didn't know. Yeah. Like you didn't know.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah.
I had no idea that was a thing. So I don't see why that wouldn't be the case. We plan on fixing everything that we've done and growing together. Coach Sirianni, Brian, everyone.
Brian, you mentioned Brian. So how does he feel about the fact that a guy that he had as much faith in as he had in Nick Sirianni mentioned Brian, same breath he mentioned Nick, but now Brian's gone. Brian's taken the fall. Brian's the scapegoat. That's what he might think. That's what he might feel. That's what he might believe. We don't know. We're not going to have access to Jalen Hurts again unless he's making the rounds at the Super Bowl. But I'd like to know how he feels about this move when they keep Sirianni. They fire his good friend, who was the quarterback's coach. He was part of the solution when things were going very well.
Right.
Now we have one rough year, and he gets thrown overboard.
Yeah.
We don't try to fix this. Why wouldn't we try to fix this? What? And who are you bringing in? Who are you? Are you just bringing in anybody? Are you going to talk to me about who you're bringing in? I mean, this has the potential. When you already consider that things feel dysfunctional anyway, and we don't quite know what the root cause of dysfunction is, we don't know who's pissed off at whom, this has the potential to blow up. That's why I wrote the item yesterday about the contract that Jalen Hurts signed last year, you would ordinarily think a massive contract like that, there's no way out. We're stuck. Just like Russell Wilson. The Broncos were stuck. At least they were last year if they would have wanted out of it after a year. This is a contract that is easily tradable by the Eagles. If they had somebody who would want to take him on at 3 years and about $44 million per year. Now, I don't know that anybody's going to take on that contract at 3 years and $44 million per year, but it's very easy to trade. It's got, relative to what we've seen from other quarterback contracts, an $18 million cap charge you would take if you trade him, but it can happen. And look, it's funny, people lost their minds just because I pointed out it could happen. I'm not saying it should. I'm not saying it will. I'm just saying it could. He could say, I want out. This isn't a situation where the Eagles could say we want to move him. They have a no-trade clause in the contract that would keep Hurts from blocking a trade to any team he didn't want to play for. But what if, when the dust settles on all the dysfunction, Chris, Jalen Hurts says, I want out. You fired my friend.
Yeah.
You hired an offensive coordinator I don't really want to work with. I want out. Trade me. The point is, they can't say to him, well, the contract makes it impossible. It doesn't. The contract makes it very possible.
No, he's in the perfect spot. With the support he has around him, he has the best supportive group in all of football. So that'd be hard for me to imagine him making a trade. I mean, the tush push, some of the quarterback design runs, what he does. Listen, me. That's why I fight against it sometimes. It's not that special. I go, hey, the hole's the size of a Mack truck. Whoa, the tush push. Everybody's back 5 yards. Whoop-de-doo. That's because of the Eagles' O-line. They've set up a recipe for success around him where I can't imagine him ever wanting to leave. And listen, if he's going to say what he said, players play. So he's just playing. He's not talking to if that's true to his word there, right? He shouldn't be worried about who the owner and the head coach hire. Players play. So he just got to worry about that. Also, I think that was the weakest endorsement ever for an offensive coordinator. Oh, remember what I said the other day? Listen, if I really wanted the offensive coordinator back and I was in Jalen Hurts, I'd be like, man, what is this talk even about? I mean, what are you talking about? Brian Johnson's awesome. We were great.
The question was about Sirianni.
Right. Okay.
The question was about Sirianni, not Brian Johnson.
Well, you bring it all up. You bring it all up right there. What are we talking about? You go on. You don't go, wait, what I said the other day. I don't want to say it again. So that's not exactly an endorsement of anything there. That's what I would say. But I think again, I know there's history here with Jalen Hurts, and he's known him since he was a little kid. Right? And Brian Johnson was the quarterback at the same school that Jalen Hurts' dad was coaching at. So I'm sure it hits home on a personal level to a degree too. But at the same time, I think Jalen Hurts is smart enough to realize, hey, it didn't work last year. We were kind of a mess. I didn't play my best football, right? I didn't feel like I had some of the answers I had under Shane Steichen. And you know me, Mike, too. I'm never always a proponent of, hey, this guy's my buddy and he's my coach. I don't think buddies should be coaches. That's not the way it works. When the buddy's the coach, it becomes sorry, I threw an interception. Oh, my bad, coach. My bad, buddy, right? That's just that to me is not always the correct pecking order a player needs to be pushed, prodded, play his best, right? You've heard me say that before, and I think in a lot of ways this could be a good thing for Jalen Hurts as well.
It's all relevant because we saw what a disaster the Eagles experienced down the stretch.
Yeah.
We don't know what ultimately was at the heart of it. We don't know what snapped. And how good is the support system going to be next year? What if A.J. Brown wants out? Jason Kelsey retires? It may not be as good. And what if they hire an offensive coordinator that Jalen Hurts has already decided isn't his cup of tea? It's one of those things where, you got all the different potential developments you're keeping an eye on. And I only say it because we've seen crazy stuff happen. We have to be ready for crazy things to possibly happen because we've seen crazy things happen before. And we were like, well, I didn't see that coming. Didn't know about that. Didn't think that could be a thing. Bottom line, if Jalen Hurts decides fresh start is needed for both and they start having the conversations, the toughest part of it is finding a suitor. If the team and the player decide time to go our separate ways, you got to find somebody who's willing to take on that contract. There's a lot of guaranteed money on the front end. There's a window of 10 days from the start of the new league year 10 days after that, before the option exercise deadline hits of like $38 million plus fully guaranteed. They need to do it then if they're going to do it. I don't think they are, but it's just something to keep an eye on because what we've seen is weird. And when weird things happen, they lay the foundation for more weird things to occur. And
I hear you.
I didn't just think of this on my own. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Somebody raised it with me, and I was having the conversation on text, and we started to talk about the various teams where he would be an upgrade. Here's just a few of them. Think about this. The Falcons, he'd be an upgrade over what they have. The Patriots, he'd be an upgrade over what they have. The Steelers, he'd be an upgrade over what they have. The Raiders, upgrade. And if the Vikings lose Kirk Cousins, they got to go somewhere else for a quarterback. He'd be an upgrade there over Jaron Hall and Josh Dobbs. That's for damn sure. And you could throw the Seahawks in as well, depending upon who the new head coach is. You got Geno Smith, where you have an opportunity to get out of the contract, and you could bring in Jalen Hurts. If the new head coach decides, I think we could make things very special here with Jalen Hurts if he decides he wants out of Philadelphia and needs a fresh start. So I'm just saying it's something to watch. Not saying it's going to happen. Not saying it should happen. The only point is it's weird in Philly right now, and the contract makes it far easier than other big money quarterback contracts that we've seen.
Agreed. It's weird in Philly. We know that, right? I'd be shocked if Jalen Hurts doesn't want to stay there. Like we've talked, it's an all-star team. I don't even care if Jason Kelce retires. It doesn't matter. They got 4 basically other all-pros at offensive linemen. Not Pro Bowlers, not whatever. Like all-pro caliber type of football players, right? Cam Jurgens is probably the only guy you don't put in that. Landon Dickerson is worthy of all-pro conversation. Like you said, the receivers outside, they're legit. Everything there for a quarterback would be like, hey, please, I'll play on that team. Please, please, please. Everybody in football would be like, oh, Jalen Hurts doesn't leave. I can go there. I'll go there. I think that's what will ultimately happen here, and that's where I think it's like Jalen Hurts, in a lot of ways, like I said, he should be happy this move was made. They weren't good. He needs somebody to push him and challenge him, give him more answers he didn't have this year. That was part of the reason he didn't look as good as the way he wanted to look. So I think this is something he should welcome. And then also on top of that, Mike, with all the talent I just talked about, anybody who's a viable, I'm looking to upgrade, become the next, offensive coordinator for a football team, I'm a hot quarterback coach, whatever, man, I can go to the Eagles? What? I can go there and have that team with me right away. So they're going to have their pick of the litter here as far as people that are looking to be offensive coordinators and want that challenge because they're going to go, wait, damn, quarterback's really awesome. O-line's great. Rest of the team's really great. Let me work with that. That's a great place to start out. We know there's pressure in Philadelphia, but, a lot of the meat and potatoes hard work is already done for you. Now you just got to game plan and do those type of things.
Before I would ever take that job, I would want them to tell me exactly what happened last year. I would want to know what I'm fixing. What am I fixing? What made this go off the rails? You need to diagnose it. You need to come up with a treatment plan. I need you to have diagnosed it before I ever sit down for an interview to be your offensive coordinator. I need to know that you know what happened and that you have a plan for fixing it. And apparently Sirianni's figured it out because I can't imagine Jeffrey Lurie, the way he looked at the end of that game last Monday night, I can't imagine Lurie bringing Sirianni back if Sirianni didn't have answers when they met last week for what happened, why it happened, how it happened, and how they're going to dig out of it. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.